Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and here we are now with part 5 of this bloody thing. I'm fed up with it. I'm going to show you now what's going on with this bar. Now we know we got the side bars all fitted in now nicely and neatly. Because of the angle of the bottom plate, the bar has had to come away from the side. I'll show you in a minute, about 3 or 4 mils, so it's nothing much, but I'm just going to show you just how much this bar is out and why it won't fit and how we're going to cure it. And then in this video we will cure it. So hang tight and stick with me, and we'll get it in. Okay, so we can see here the bar is in, and what I've done, these are actually in, bolted in solid with those plates still drying on the back. So that's all bolted in solid and everything's nice and square. So this end, as you can see, what we've got is a bracket on the back. Let me get around here. You can see there's a bracket on the back. It's almost like a bolt-in roll cage. And you've got one of the old bolt-in roll cages, whoops. And you can see this bracket's welded to the tube, and then you've got this bracket on this side is welded to this tube, so that forms the other half, so you basically clamp them together. So as you can see, I've got a couple of scrap bolts in there, and they're lining up dead straight, yeah, with the brackets. So the end of this tube is butted up against this side of this tube, and that bracket's bolted in, okay? And the tub is at the right width, 1542mm from here all the way over to here, okay? Now look at this side. Oh dear. If I put the camera square on, you'll see what I mean. And if I try and pull this in here, you can see there is just no way. That camera now is square. If I put a bolt in there, square to that hole, you can see how far it is out on the back, okay? It's not going to go in. So for me to get that to go in, I would have to, it would spread the body, and you can also see how far we are out here in these holes, and you can see here the gap on this side, yeah, and you can see here it's proper fouling it. So it's basically over that way. So what I'll try doing now is I'll try fitting this side properly and see how that side looks when this side's fitted properly. Okay, so that's that side bolted up nicely now. You can see the bolts are all square and everything's gone lovely, and the tube's all clamped in there. But when we look down here, we can see that we are now a mile out to the right with these holes. We've got a little gap there, okay, and we've got, if I pull this up, we've got a little gap there. So it basically shows we need to have these brackets down here off slightly to the right that way, okay, to get this gap here correct. And then we're going to have to cut about both of these ends and bring them in to make them fit properly. Now, as I say, this part, I'm not going to show you up there, this part of the bracket should really be butted up against the side of the body. But if I have that butted up against the side of the body, this plate then twists and obviously doesn't fit properly. So this, I don't believe these uprights have been made correctly. I think this is what most of the problem is. So anyway, let me do some cutting about, and we'll have a look. Right, so here we are back again, next day now, and yeah, I've done a lot of work once again on this piece of quality equipment. I'm going to swear. I think I'll only swear once, maybe twice or 3 times this video, but this is a load of fucking junk. Absolute fucking junk. That's twice now. I don't think it's a general across. It's not a Britpart issue as such, because as we know, other people have fitted these bars with no problem. But basically, if I just show you what I've had to do, and then I'll explain why. Here's the bar. Okay. If you notice, the brackets have gone off the bottom, and if you notice, I've cut the ends off here. Okay. So if I just lay this down on my lap, if you look at the ends, I tried to cut through the welds, but I couldn't. The welds on this are very hard. They're harder than anything I've ever welded. So I don't know what it is. It's probably stick welded or something. I don't know. But if you look on this one, you can see that there's about, if I've cut it off flush with the side, you can see there's probably, what's that, 7-8 mil of tube. If you look at this one, you've got about 13 mil of tube. So obviously these brackets weren't welded on right, or the bar wasn't cut right. And I think this is where I'm getting everything is off to one side all the time. Then once I'd done that, I noticed that if I had the bars in the end pieces here, then it wasn't parallel with this, with the front face of the tub. sort of sat on an angle. So I sort of laid it down on a flat, so I used the base of the tub, laid it down on a flat surface, and if it was sort of resting on these ends, okay, then this was before I cut it. If resting on the ends, then it would rock. So obviously it's got the 2 feet on here, okay, 2 feet there, and then you've got the 2 ends, so it should sit like a crab on those 4 points, but it was actually rocking. So I looked at it, and it's actually, when you look at it sort of along its length, so kind of like that, as you're looking at it now, trying not to hit the tub, it was actually like this. So that was why the bottom bar wasn't running straight. So I put a piece of steel tube up in the vise, got this over it, and actually managed to bend it straight. So got it sitting in the ends, too long, but set in the ends and parallel on the bottom edge. So cut the ends off, okay, so I can shorten it to get everything right. Then I found that these feet, okay, if these feet were correctly centered over these holes, then the gaps on these corners were out, okay? So the feet weren't welded centrally to the bar, or I think what's happened, because they welded it with bloody huge welds, I think when they've welded it, they've actually, it's contracted and pulled the bar. And I think maybe that is the whole problem with my kit, is the fact that it's been welded out of a jig or something like that, and it's actually opened this up, which has made it too wide and also twisted it. So that's probably where the problem comes. So quality control is lacking, because there's no way, you know, people may say that I'm being fussy, and please don't say it's only a Land Rover. I hate that phrase. You know, people say, oh, it's only a Land Rover, it should be covered in mud and dents. No, it shouldn't. It can be an immaculate vehicle if it wants to be. It's down to the owner how it looks. So basically, there's no way on this planet I could have fitted this kit as per the instructions and not had this metalwork all twisted up on the bottom of the brackets, and also not had the tops pushed out. No way. And what I wish I'd done is just taken it back and made my own, because the work I've done, I may as well have made my own. I've got a bender, I've got the tube and everything, so I don't know why I wasted my time. 150 quid on this load of crap. Absolute waste of money. And it's just cheap seam tube as well. It's not even seamless tubing. And if you look at the fold, the bends, they're awful. Look how flat it is there. I mean, if I show you one that I haven't ground, just to prove that it's not me doing it. Look at that. Shit, isn't it? Absolute shit. So if this company made roll cages, they'd probably be the worst roll cages in the world. They wouldn't fit, and they'd have awful bends, and yeah, anyway. So it is what it is. We are where we are. So basically now I can get this into this tub, have it centered so that on these corners here, I've got an equal gap both sides. I can have these brackets where I want them, position where I want them, both longitudinally. Oh, the other thing was, with this tube in fitted on these ends, before I cut them off, these feet, if you can imagine looking along the side of the truck, you've got the flat platform that it goes on, they were actually like this. So if I bolted it up, it would have twisted all this section here up anyway. So so that's why I've cut it into different pieces, and I've made a kit. So if Britpart, if you're watching this, one thing I would suggest is that if you're going to carry on marketing this crap, perhaps give the option of a DIY kit that the owner can weld together himself, because I could have bolted that top bracket in, bolted the bottom in, and then welded the pieces, and it would have been perfect. And I could have welded these ends onto this tube and welded those brackets on, and it would have been perfect. And you could charge £100 for it, still make yourself a big heap of money, have to do a lot less work, and have more satisfied customers. But I'm done. I'm not buying any more Britpart products that are made or imported by Britpart. I'll buy the Britpart genuine stuff, I'll buy the Britpart OEM stuff. But anything, I was going to get Britpart arches. No, not a chance. They probably fit the Mustang better than they'd fit this. So yeah, not a very happy customer, I'm afraid. And I'm probably going to send them an email. So I'll get on, stop moaning, and get this done, and see where we go from there. Right, we're getting somewhere now. On this end, what I did, because the thing was so far over to the right, what I did to do on this end was actually, if I come around the back, you'll see where I've tacked it on, and I've literally tacked on one of those cut off pieces. So I've basically extended this end, if you like, or I've just welded the piece I cut off the other end onto this end, which is the thicker of the two. So, and then had to remove a little bit from here. So basically the bar has moved that way quite a lot. In fact, it's moved that way so much that on this end, what I did a few minutes ago, I showed you the ends that I'd cut off with the tube inside them. I actually ground the tube out of this one, and then I've just tacked on, you can see there, I've just tacked that bracket onto the end of that tube after it was cut off, and the end of that tube is now butted up against this one. So the whole thing has moved right over. So now what we have is a gap here, and we have a gap here, and the gaps are pretty much equal. I can squeeze my finger in there, sort of halfway up my fingernail, and I can do the same up there, sort of halfway, maybe not quite up my fingernail. So maybe it's a millimetre or two closer here than it is on the other side. But when we look at it from the back, let's go around here, I think we can agree it looks pretty even. And if we want to even it up, there is enough, these, where's my finger, these brackets here have got enough movement in the holes to allow us to do that. You can also see that now this the bottom of the beam here is now square with the floor. Okay, and then when we look down on it from the top, we can also see that it's now square with this edge here. Okay, so now these brackets need to be ground and welded on, and I can have them now centered over those holes where I want them properly, and they can lay flat on this panel rather than be all sort of, they were up like this, so the ends were sitting on the ends rather than down on the flat. So I'll clamp those to the body and then tack weld them on and take them off and weld them up. And what I'll do is I'll weld probably from the other side, and I'll weld in like little bits so it doesn't get too much heat in it, and then it won't bend it all out of shape again. But you can see if I slacken these nuts off, you get quite a lot of play. Can't do it one-handed. I can move, you can see here, I can move the bar. Look at the camera, you can see I can move it around to get that gap in there exactly the same on both sides if you want to be really fussy. But I'm sort of more than happy now with how it is. Since I made the last little segment, I've spoken to someone, apparently I'm not the only one to have the same problem. So maybe this isn't just a one-off. Oh, the other thing is with these bolts, because you've got these massive gaps in here and on the bottom here, you can sort of tighten this bolt and loosen that bolt to enable you to move this forwards and back if you want to get it right when it's welded in. So there we go. This is the how to fit the Britpart Bulkhead removable bar DIY kit. Only it's sort of minus DIY because you have to unassemble it first. Great if you don't weld, isn't it? I've had enough of this today. I'm going to give up for today. I'll come back tomorrow, I think. At last, we're done. It's all bolted in, it's all welded up, and now I got the pleasure of taking the powder coat off, which is going to be fun. So, welding it up has been quite a task. This tube and the end pieces were fine to weld. I don't know what these plates are made of, but it's like trying to weld with bad earth. Loads of spatter, wire pushing away, really strange. I wonder if that's why the welds were so hard. Maybe it's some kind of shit material in there using shit welding rods, I don't know, but really difficult to weld. So I didn't weld around the inside, I just welded it underneath because the welds aren't very pretty, obviously. And also I discovered that doing the welds, I did like an inch at a time, and doing that on these without welding the insides has actually twisted the bar slightly. When I put it together, I had these holes perfectly aligned, and now I'll show you in a minute, and now they're slightly misaligned, so it has very slightly moved. But we've got the gaps pretty much even on the sides. I think there's about a 1 or 2 mil difference. Don't worry about that. And everything's bolted up, so we're good to go. I have sent an email to Britpart about this and waiting for a reply, see what they say. Maybe they watch these videos, I don't know. If you are, you need to get these things off the shelves because they don't fit. As I said yesterday, I spoke to someone who had heard of the same issue, and then I was looking on Mike's channel this morning over on Britannica Restorations, and he's fitted one of these and he had no trouble fitting it. I noticed he drilled the holes where they told you to drill, and he put these in, and these plates fitted on perfectly on his wheel arches. And then he put this bar in, bolted it in, these holes lined up perfectly. But on his, the welding was awful, terrible. So I can only think that Britpart have changed suppliers. This one had stickers on saying X Panda, if you saw it. So, you know, don't know. So I think they probably changed suppliers, and basically they're making crap. When you bolt the bar in, it pushes the tub apart, and then the doors won't close, or you realign the jambs, and you end up, because you've basically done that to the tub, obviously the side panels are going to go like this. So you, from your roof, if this is your roof line here, your side panels exaggerated are going to be like this, and then your tub's going to be like that, because you're going to be 20 mil wider in the middle. So obviously when you shut your doors, they're going to be sticking out at the top and sticking out at the bottom. So not good. And the biggest issue I think with this, as I have said to Britpart in my email, is that the poor people that buy them, thinking they're just going to bolt it in, by the time you discover all this crap, you've cut your bulkhead out. So it's too late. You have to do something. Now, what I would recommend to anyone who's thinking about doing this, I noticed this morning on eBay, there's a company called Performance and Protection or something. Have a look on eBay and you'll see them. P&P roll cages, and they make their own version of this out of proper cold drawn seamless tubing, and it's 45 mil, and it fits. It just bolts in. So I would give this a miss. The trouble is the P&P one is twice the price of this one, nearly twice the price. So, you know, I'd give this one a miss. They called this OEM. This ain't OEM. No way. There's no way they fitted this crap at Land Rover, because the tubs would all be out of shape. So, I don't know. But I'll let you know when the reply comes. I'll let you know what they say, if they reply at all. So there we go, it's in. I'll do a quick walk around of it, and then we'll call that a day for this video. And in the next one, I'll have it all out and show you the mods I've done to these end pieces up here. I don't want to take them out now, because I want to leave this sealant here, make sure that sealant's really gone off. Because the trouble is, when you stick a large plate like this on, the sealant dries from the outside in, and you think about it, it's almost like it's in the tube in that centre. There's no air getting to it, so it's going to take a while to go off. So I don't want it to pull away, because the actual panel is slightly bowed, and I don't want it to pull away, and then when I do it back up again, the sealant will have set. So it's like this now. If it pulls away like that, then the sealant will set in the middle, and when I bolt it up, it'll be out flat again. I'm fussy like that. So there we go. So I'll do a quick walk around, and then we'll call it a day. Alright, so starting over here, you can see this is where I welded this piece on, this bracket on the back. That tube comes right to the end of it, and that's welded around the inside as well. So that one's coming out like that, so that's all nice. It comes down here, we've got a nice little gap in there, as you can see. When we come down here, we've got not very pretty welding, but it'll do. Awful, you can see it's all brown around it as well. I don't know what's causing that. It's awful. Even I put, you can see the marks where I put anti-spatter spray on, and the spatter's still stuck. There's so much of it. So that's that one there, and you can see the holes on this side are, you can see that it's just poking through there, and on this one it's just poking through there. So you can see the bar has twisted slightly when it's been welded on these bends. And then on this end here, you can see that I've welded this tube onto the end. So the weld is sort of in line with the end of this bracket here. So there we go. I'll give you a quick sneak preview of what I've done under here. I don't know why you're going to be able to see it, but these are the holes here. These are the old holes, and there's the new nut there. So you can see what I've had to do. I've actually cut the top plates. So if I come back here, what I had to do was, where's my hand? Cut the top plates, and then bend them down so that it sits like that rather than sitting up straight. Because if you remember, it sat up straight, and this tube came straight down, and you could basically get your finger in behind here. So what I've had to do is kind of, because that was like that, what I've had to do is tip that whole lot over to get this plate to sit nice and flush. And then what I've had to do is re-drill these holes 14mm further back in this metal plate, and then add an extension to this side 14mm. So basically the holes are now 14mm further back, as you can see there. You can see there's the, where are we? There's the old hole. See the old hole there, and you can see the new nut there. But as I said, I'll show you when I got it all out again. And that was to make it fit. So as I say, this is totally different from the one Mike fitted, and also I've had to twist it. I've had to twist it this way slightly because that plate, exaggerated, that plate was away like that and like that. Sorry, and like that. So it was away like that and like that, and it was the opposite on the other side. Total and utter shit, basically. So there we go. So yeah, my recommendation is don't buy one of these. If you're a DIY guy, if you like fabricating and cutting them, you can weld and everything, then by all means get one. But doing this down here, I think maybe I was a little over fussy doing these plates, but as I say, they were like this, and they were off center. So now they're nice and flush, and it's all good. So there we go. And you can see now that this bar is pretty much parallel with that flange there, and it's also parallel height-wise, whereas before it was like that, sorry, where it was twisted. So there we go. A lot of work. So this and my Ford Ranger is just giving me an opinion that just says, why do we buy anything anymore? Because everything we buy is crap. It's just crap, isn't it? All of it. So I try and have a cheerful day and stop moaning, but I'll see you all soon, guys. Thanks for watching. See you for part 6.